Take a look around the room you are in right now. Listen to the people talking. They are laughing at jokes that aren't funny. They are complaining about things they refuse to fix. They are celebrating wins that you would consider a failure. For a long time, you tried to fit in. You wore the same mask, spoke the same hollow words, and pretended to care about their average dreams. But lately, something has shifted. A cold realization has settled in your chest. You are no longer one of them. Niccolo Machiavelli once wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." Right now, to the world, you look like a regular person, an employee, a face in the crowd. But behind your eyes, you are building a cathedral while they are playing in the dirt. You feel a growing distance, a silence that makes you curious rather than afraid. You find their conversations small, their ambitions weak, and their logic flawed. You aren't being arrogant. You're simply observing a different reality. I know this feeling because I live it every day. I sit in meetings, hearing people argue over crumbs while I'm calculating how to own the whole bakery. It's a lonely path. While the masses seek validation, the 1% seek execution. If you feel like an alien in your own life, it's not because you are lost. It's because you are evolving. Your brain is being upgraded to a version they cannot afford. Today, we aren't talking about motivation. We are talking about the 6 intense signs that your mind has officially left the herd and entered the elite. If you recognize these signs, your life as a common man is over. The architect has woken up. And once you see the blueprint, you can never go back to being just a brick. Sign 1. Sovereign silence. The average person is terrified of silence. To them, being unseen is the same as being dead. They scream their plans from the rooftops and post every move on social media, desperate for a like from people they don't even respect. They seek the herd for warmth, like shivering sheep, because they have no internal fire to keep themselves warm. But you have become a ghost. The first sign that you have entered the 1% is that you have stopped explaining yourself and started embracing strategic isolation. You've realized that trying to explain a 10-year architectural blueprint to a person who can't even plan their next weekend is a waste of your divine energy. You no longer see solitude as loneliness. You see it as sovereignty. I've stood in rooms where everyone was fighting to be the loudest, bragging about minor wins. It's pathetic. While they are out seeking cheap company to escape their boredom, you're in your laboratory, refining your empire. In your workplace, you sit with a polite, empty smile. Your colleagues think you are quiet or boring. They are wrong. You're simply practicing invisibility because you realize your inner world is too wealthy to be shared with those who only value noise. As Robert Greene wrote, "Always say less than necessary." You have taken this to a surgical level. You don't need the applause of the crowd to know you are winning. You are an architect, and you cannot design a masterpiece in the middle of a riot. By mastering silence, you have removed the greatest leverage the world had over you, the need for validation. You are in the room, but you are not of it. You are the hunter who has learned that the loudest sound in the forest is usually the one being pursued. Your power is now a secret, and that makes you truly free. Sign 2. The time horizon shift. The average person is a slave to the next 24 hours. They are driven by cheap dopamine, the next meal, the next drink, the next paycheck. They live in a tiny circle of now. If they can't see the reward by Friday, they won't do the work on Monday. This is the mindset of a peasant. The second sign that you have entered the elite 1% is that your clock has changed. You have stopped living for the weekend and started living for the decade. You've developed a time horizon that stretches 1, 3, or 5 years into the future. While others are spending their money to look rich today, you are starving your ego to be powerful tomorrow. Think about your current situation. You might be working a job you hate or paying off a mortgage that feels like a chain. The old you would have complained. The new you, the architect, sees this as a secret training ground. You are sacrificing the now for the then. You see your current struggle not as a tragedy, but as a transaction. You are buying your future freedom with today's discomfort. I remember watching people my age celebrate their freedom by parting away their youth, while I sat alone, calculating, planning, and building. They called me boring. They said I was missing out. But who is the slave now? They are still chasing the same cheap thrills, while I am building a throne. Sun Tzu said, "Patience is the weapon of the wise." Most people would rather fail in a suit today than succeed in rags tomorrow. But you? You have mastered the now. You are willing to be nobody for 2 years, so you can be everything for the next 50. You have realized that the 1% are just the people who were willing to do what the 99% thought was too long or too hard. You aren't just waiting. You are strategically laying the structural foundation of your new life. When you finally execute the plan, the world will call it luck. Only you will know it was architecture. Sign 3. The mastery of uncertainty. The average person is paralyzed by the unknown. They need a guarantee, a contract, and a steady paycheck to feel safe. They are like children who refuse to enter a room unless the light is already on. This is why they stay in mediocre jobs for 40 years. They are more afraid of the unpredictable than they are of being unfulfilled. They choose a certain stagnation over an uncertain greatness. The third sign that you have entered the elite 1% is that you have stopped looking for a map and started trusting your own compass. You have realized that uncertainty is the only place where true wealth is created. While the herd is shaking with concern because the economy is shifting or the future looks blurry, you are feeling a strange, cold excitement. You've stopped asking, "What if I fail?" and started asking, "How much can I gain?" while everyone else is hesitating. I remember a time when my own future was a total blank. No one could tell me if my plans would work. My friends were taking safe routes, and for a moment I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff. But then I realized something. The edge is where you can build wings. I stopped looking at the probabilities and started focusing entirely on my daily execution. As Marcus Aurelius said, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Think of your current life. Perhaps your transition away from your current position feels risky. Most people would call you unrealistic for wanting to leave a stable path. But they are viewing the world through the lens of a servant. You are viewing it as an architect. You've realized that a predictable life is actually the most dangerous thing in the world because it robs you of your competitive edge. You don't need the lights to be on. You've learned to navigate by the stars. Sign 4. The submarine mindset. Have you ever noticed how easily a room full of negative people can pull you down? Most people are like sponges. They absorb the gossip, the complaints, and the small-mindedness of whoever is standing next to them. If their colleagues are uninspired, they become uninspired. They have no structure. They simply fade into their surroundings. The fourth sign of an elite mind is the ability to be in the room, but not of the room. You could be standing in the middle of a crowd of people talking about their neighbors, and yet your mental fortress remains untouched. You sit in your workplace, surrounded by people who are mentally smaller than you, and instead of getting frustrated or joining in, you simply observe them like a scientist watching a fascinating phenomenon. I've been in situations where I was the outsider. I sat through countless hours of people talking about things that didn't matter. Entertainment, office drama, other people's setbacks. It's an exhausting wait, trying to stay focused in a distracting room. But you have learned to build a mental shield. You listen, you nod, you give them a polite smile. But you never let their noise enter your vision. You realize that you are there only with your body. Your mind is elsewhere, planning, calculating, and refining your vision. You are the ghost architect, You don't waste your breath trying to correct their small talk, and you certainly don't lower yourself to join it. You have realized that your energy is your most precious resource, and you refuse to spend a single drop of it on people who are satisfied with being average. You aren't being isolated. You are being intentional. You are protecting the king on your internal chessboard. Sign 5. Emotional decoupling. The average person is a puppet, and their emotions are the strings. If you want to control them, all you have to do is pull. If someone challenges their pride, they react instantly. If someone criticizes their work, they lose focus. They are predictable, reactive, and therefore, they lack true power. They spend their entire lives defending an ego that doesn't actually exist, terrified of what the herd thinks of them. The fifth sign of an elite mind is emotional decoupling. You have reached a level where you no longer view a critic as an opponent, but as a source of raw data. When someone tries to upset you, you don't feel the heat rise in your chest. Instead, you feel a calm, analytical curiosity. You don't ask, "How dare they say that to me?" You ask, "Why did they say that, and is there anything useful in this noise?" You have become a calm center in a world of chaos. Negativity enters your space, and it simply dissolves into your logic. I see this often in the workplace. Someone might make a sharp comment about my unusual habits or my lack of social interest. In the past, I might have felt the need to explain myself. Now, I just observe. I see their own uncertainty leaking out through their words. I realize that their attempt to disturb me is actually a reflection of their own internal pressure. By staying composed, you become the most formidable person in the room. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, if you learn that someone is speaking ill of you, do not try to defend yourself. Just smile and say, "He must not know about my other faults, or he wouldn't have mentioned only these." Sign 6. Obsession with the system. Everyone wants the result. Everyone wants the success, the title, and the applause, but almost no one wants the journey. The average person spends their life dreaming of a destination while resenting the path. They want the outcome, but they avoid the effort. This is why they remain stagnant. They are hoping for a lucky break, rather than building a system. The final and most powerful sign of an elite mind is that you have fallen in love with the process. You have become obsessed with the system rather than just the result. While the masses are waiting for a miracle, you are focused on the daily discipline of laying one perfect brick after another. You have realized that the result is just a byproduct, a shadow cast by the structure you build every single day. Think about your current daily routine. To an outsider, it might look repetitive or monotonous. You wake up, you work, you study, you plan, day after day. But to you, this is the highest form of satisfaction. I find more fulfillment in completing a difficult chapter of my plan than I do in receiving a paycheck. Why? Because the paycheck is a temporary gain, but the discipline is a permanent internal upgrade. You have stopped being a goal seeker and become a system builder. As the saying goes, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. The elite 1% are simply people who have learned to find satisfaction in the work itself. You find victory in the fact that you did what you planned to do, even when no one was watching. You are no longer waiting for a jackpot. You are the owner of the structure, and the builder always gains in the end. You aren't just working, you are building an engine that will eventually run on its own. That is the ultimate sign of the architect. If you recognize these signs in yourself, I have a final truth for you, one that is both a gift and a responsibility. You can no longer go back to the way things were. You cannot unsee the blueprint. The bridge between you and the masses hasn't just been crossed, it has been permanently closed. Most people will spend their entire existence as extras in someone else's movie. They will follow the script, take the assigned seat, and finish their journey wondering why they never felt truly powerful. They are the background noise of history. But you have stopped being a character and started being the director. I've stood in the same hallways you stand in. I've looked into the eyes of people who are perfectly satisfied with a life of good enough. And I felt a clear realization. I understood that if I didn't separate myself, their pace would become my own. You aren't different from them by birth. You are different because you chose the harder path. You chose the silence. You chose the system. You chose the long game while they were busy chasing temporary shadows. Machiavelli once noted that the promise given was a necessity of the past. The word changed is a necessity of the present. Your old promise to be normal is now gone. Your new necessity is greatness. Go back to your workplace tomorrow. Sit in those meetings. Listen to the small talk. But this time, do it with a smile. Not because you agree, but because you know something they don't. You are the architect, and while they are arguing over the minor details, you are already securing the foundation. The throne is built in the dark, but it is occupied in the light. Keep building. Keep the silence. I'll see you at the top.